My name is Danny Ramsey. I want to thank Nick Bandstra for asking for some presentation stuff from us for our offense here. I'm an offensive coordinator, assistant athletic director here at Brenham High School in Brenham, Texas. My contact info is on your screen right there. I wanted to leave it up there at the beginning, and then I'll put it back on at the end. But we're going to talk about some green zone offense today. For us, the green zone is the money zone. So it's the 10-yard line and in going in to punch the ball in and score. If you guys are anything like me, as I've gone through my career, you can go through and move the football all the way down the field, and then you get it to the 5, and you wonder how you're going to get it in there if your linemen are not huge, all 6'4" and 280 across the board. And so we have developed offense over a number of years. I've been coaching for 21 years in a number of places, mostly in high school in Texas, and had linemen that have been anywhere from 5'9", 197 pounds to 6'5" and 280 pounds and playing for the Cowboys now. And so we try to simplify things and make things work for all of those kids in all of those body types. And so how do you punch the ball into the end zone when you got a 5'9", 197 pound tackle in 5A football in Texas and just run the power or jam it up in there? So we try to be creative with some simplicity with our offensive line, but we create some things in the back end that make things look different for defenses. And so today we're going to start with that. I'm going to give you a few simple, basic things that we do, and then maybe a couple of tweaks off of those, try to put the ball in the end zone. So the first thing that we want to talk about or show is we run the stretch. We run the stretch quite a lot. So if you're looking at the screen, when we're talking about green zone offense, sometimes it's necessary, or you may have the ability based on personnel to change up your formations and get into formations that you may or may not use in the middle of the field. So one of the things that we do at times is we bring in a third back, depending on where we are, or potentially a fullback type guy, or even a backup guard type guy. And we put him in, and I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but we put him in this little H spot right here. And what I'm going to do is I'll mark him as the Z, which is what we call him in this position. So we put him in this little fullback spot, and that guy might be one of your bigger kids, maybe a kid that you want to reward from the defensive side that just is a good kid, has a little oomph to him, and can go block and put his weight behind him. And then you may have a couple of backs. And so in our case, this would be our B, this would be our A. Those guys are kind of interchangeable when we get into our 3-back sets. And so we would get into this set in a goal line situation to provide us with a number of things. Obviously, if we've got the numbers off there to the right side, then we might run the stretch, or we might run the power, we might run the ISO into that side. But for us, over the last 3 years or so, we've developed and worked running the stretch back away from the numbers. You tend to get one guy short defensively in a goal line set to the weak side. And so we believe that we can handle with what we're doing and the way that we teach our stretch, we can handle what's going on in the interior box. And we gain ourselves 2 blockers to what might be and usually is only 1 defender to the weak side. And so we're just going to run the stretch in here. So and this is the particular set. We call this sting. There's really no particular reason. Actually, there is, but for the sake of time, we'll move forward in it. But then we call this formation sting. We would call this stretch to our left. When we're teaching the stretch, and we'll go over that a couple of different ways, but we don't shift it, but we believe that what we teach in the way of the stretch is unique, and it works for those guys who are, like I said, 6'6", 280 or 5'9", 197. We believe that it works for those guys across the board because the principles are the same. So this is, like I said, this is our stretch. This would be to the left. And so our first play, here it is. We are in that formation that we were just talking about. We call it sting. Way out here wide, we have a receiver outside the numbers. We've got our Z here in this position. There's our A, there's our B, And then we're going to, in this instance, we're actually going to run to the numbers because of the way the numbers worked out. They evened their defense out, left 2 guys off the backside. The reason that they do this is for us, we're an option offense. Our quarterback is a weapon. And in this case, this kiddo in particular is like Houdini. And so if he pulls the ball, that oftentimes what we found is they would leave after we'd hit them on the short side, they would leave 2 guys to the weak side for that quarterback specifically because he was that kind of runner, which gave us obviously numbers advantage to the front side. So in this case, on the film, we're going to run it to the strong side. You'll notice that there's kind of a wall that's happening, that's taking place as we're running this with the offensive line. We get a terrible job by our little Z guy right there. But again, we're really trying to occupy this cat, take him where he wants to go, either kick him out and create this little tunnel or wash him if we're good enough to do that. In this case, we're not, but we actually have 2 guys for him. Anyhow, if you look at it from the end zone, it gets you a little bit better view. And what we teach on the offensive line is that we're going to teach this front side tackle, the right side tackle in this case, we're going to teach him to run the zone. And then everybody else behind him is taking a flat step toward the offensive lineman in front of them. And they're going to reach the hip of the man in front of them. If they can reach the hip of the man in front of them, then we have no problems because there's no penetration. We're going to throw, we teach some techniques with that. One we call throwing hooks and jabs. We're going to throw a hook, try to get to a play side number. We're going to throw a jab to square our shoulders and our hips up with the guy in front of us and get some vertical push. There are times where our guys turn themselves to the inside. We don't want that. We want a continuous line that goes right here and creates a tunnel that keeps all these bad guys on this side. And we want to get our back to this place. And then he's just going to go off of and make his cut off of this outside linebacker, whichever defender that might be. So we'll run this play from the end zone. And again, not a great job by the front side tackle, but we have the numbers by who we are blocking. You notice that here's our Z making a terrible, he might as well taking a charge right there. Here's our A, who is going to find the crease. Actually, he doesn't even do that. He takes away from the other cat, and then our back just follows the lineman as he's continuing to run, which he does a great job instead of getting caught in the wash of the rest of this stuff. We get this taken over. We really should be heading this direction with that tackle to get this all cut off. But when you got a back with a little head of steam, he stays true to the line and makes his cut where he needs to, then good things happen. So we'll go to the next play. Well, actually, we're going to run the stretch again, but we do it out of multiple formations. So this is one of the things we've gotten into the last couple of years is where we'll tackle over to show some things. So we are going to go, we actually don't move a tackle over, we move a guard over so that our tackles can remain the outsides of the offensive line. So this is our left tackle. This is our right tackle. And our right guard is just swap spots with the center. So he moves over from the center. Then we gain the extra man to this side. It does give some defenses, it presents some challenges for those guys just because it looks awkward. We're snapping the ball from the center, which is only one blocker over. We can add this H-back, or this guy is our A in our regular sets, and slot is one of our formations. It's a regular set. So our A, we can put him to this side. We can put him to this side and move him around and make this look as if we can only run plays a certain way. In this, the way this is drawn, our regular stretch, we have the A here. We're running stretch to the A. We can also run the stretch away from the A, much like I showed you in the previous set when we were at Sting. And then we will also attach some of our pre-snapped RPO scenarios to those things. So if defenders are not honoring what it is we have going on with 2 receivers out here to the right, then we could bubble or crawfish that group, or we could run an outside now screen to that guy. Pre-snap if that's what we get, we tell our back before the snap, hey, just go straight ahead so that we don't get hit in the face as a quarterback. And we don't even think. We turn our hips and throw the ball to the guy that we say is uncovered. And that's what we call our uncovereds. It is an RPO of sorts because it is the option of the quarterback to throw it or to run the play that we called. But it's a pre-snap. It's not like we're tripling that particular setup. So, but gaining this tackle over gains us a man sometimes if people don't shift. Or if they do shift, we gain advantage of just that space where the lineman used to be. So, for instance, if you look here, in this space, there should be a tackle there, but we gain that space in terms of running by moving our man over. I know that sounds like that's way too simplistic, or so what if you gain 3 feet, it's not that big a deal. It's a huge deal. If you talk to anybody who talked to the Titans when they didn't win the Super Bowl off of 3 feet. 3 feet, you don't give a touchdown if you get to the 1, you got to get in the end zone. That 3 feet makes a big difference in where your back can cut, where your quarterback can cut, how long he's got to make the ride. And so, again, gaining advantages by moving a man, but still allowing yourself to run all of your offense. We're a zone team, but I would really say over the last 4 years, we've been a stretch team. But we run the dart and we run the power. Some people say you can't run both of those well. I would argue that's not necessarily true. But I would say that you can be better at one than the other based on your personnel. And that's where we have shifted a couple of different years. 2 years ago, we were really good at power and stretch. This past year, we were really good at dart and stretch. We tend to be pretty decent at zone and all the variations of it because that's what we are. And the way that we teach those things tend to make things possible for us. So as we're running this stretch, we're going to look at film on it. This would be the stretch, and we're going to run the stretch to the side of our tackle over. So we go tackle over to our left or guard over to our left. We put our H back to the left. Defense has to at least balance up to some degree because we have 2 receivers out wide to the right. So they're going to designate 3 cats over there. So we know what our numbers are to the strong side of the running strong side of the formation. And so we're going to run the stretch that way. Line gets up where they need to be. We wall off the outside defender, and there's the tunnel that we want to hit with the back. If we watch this again from the tight view, we want this cat to play lower and this cat to continue to run. He does a great job. We're running the zone here, so we get this walled off. If he plays lower and he gets to his hip with his hook, then this wall's a lot tighter. But as it stands, it's not a bad job. We get him pushed off. And again, we get into the end zone fairly easily. Nothing tricky, nothing too fancy. But again, here you see from the end zone view, we have bounced our guard. He is now over here. And we switch stances. So if he's on the left side, his left hand's down. If he were on the right side, which is where he would be in a normal set, he'd be with his right hand down. But we believe in the quickness that is there because of that. And we're seeing a bubble that they're giving us that we can take advantage of, but without necessarily changing a play or adding a play. For instance, we don't run ISO very often. This would be a great time to run an ISO, although there's not a guy really there, but we get the same thing out of it because all of our motions are going the same direction. So as you watch, you see our line form, no penetration, almost a walk-in, and fairly successful plays for us. Next way that we would run stretch, again, we would run it from the backside. So here was our slot formation, regular, no tackle over, and then we're going to run that stretch from the backside. Again, the dotted lines you would see as if we tagged one of our RPO now screens to it. And I believe that's what we have here. Yes, so same play. Formation is flopped, but we're still coming back to this wide side of the field with the open field stretch, away from that H man. Wall off, large line, tough runner. Defender probably should have tackled him for where he was. We didn't do a great job of staying low right here. This first step gained too much depth back here instead of the direction we want him to go, which is to the man in front of him. When we drop step, we don't believe in drop steps. We don't believe in bucket steps, although somebody might call them those. We believe in gaining ground to where we're going. So if we're going wide, we want to step wide. Not necessarily long. It's still a 6-inch step. All of our first steps, zone, pull steps, all of them are 6-inch steps. It's the direction that we want to make sure is right. And in this case, we drop and give too much ground right here and then don't make it up. And in this kiddo's instance, he knows he's not the quickest guy. So sometimes we squeeze his split down just a hair. But this step causes him just a little bit of issue. The biggest thing about this issue is this cat is a D1 player right here. And so our JUCO signee, who can barely spell his name, versus the D1 guy over here who's got every tool in the basket. Sometimes they just have a little bit more athletic ability, and this guy's taking advantage of it. He plays it well. He's got his hands up in there, and he's got separation. We didn't stay low enough, long enough with our hook to get him completely blocked. But, again, we're connected to the guy in our back, runs through the tackle. So the best thing that you see on this, especially from this end zone view, will be the tunnel that we create, even without getting great hook and jab going here from our right guard. Again, you want to see him running. When you watch that first step, it's not great. Loses ground, and actually first step is with his right foot backwards to set his feet in the wrong position. So that little amount of penetration doesn't cost us, thankfully, but the running back sure does help. And I know we're talking a lot about stretch, but this is to give us a base in terms of what we're talking about in greens on offense. Again, you want to shift up the formations, show some things that you may or may not have shown in the middle of the field. Our next formation is one of those that you come up with that's a goal line only scenario. If I'm not mistaken, in this set, we called this Grizzly because we brought in a 6th lineman. So as you look at this, we actually have, we considered these guys these positions. This is a left tackle, this is a left guard, and this guy is a left center. We brought in our 2nd string center to be the left center. This is our right center, this is our right guard, and this is our right tackle. So we consider this a heavy type of a set. I think during the week we were playing the Grizzlies, hence we named the formation the Grizzlies. That way, when we go from week to week, we can kind of shift that set sometimes, maybe move an H one side, again, bring a 6th lineman in. But it's easy to remember because it's the mascot of the people that we're playing is usually what we do for those specialty formations like this. We wanted a twins look because we have 2 6'2", 6'3" receivers that we wanted to try to create some one-on-ones with if they weren't going to cover them a certain way. So that's why we came up with and decided this is the formation we wanted. We also, as you're noticing up here between the parentheses if you're looking at the top of the huddle, those are our RPO uncovered tags. So we could use the blocking and the bodies of these guys. We could use their catching abilities either way. And so we're kind of taking advantage of our strengths on the goal line when we're trying to put the money in the basket, trying to put the ball in the end zone. And so here we're going to run something we run very well, which is the stretch. We're going to add a lineman, and he runs stretch every day. So we believe that if you're trying to score, you want to do the things you do well and that you do every day. You want to do those things when you're trying to put the ball in the end zone. There are different ways to do it, and there are different formations to do it from, so that the defense doesn't necessarily know that that's what's coming. In this instance, like I said, we're going to get in this big boy formation, bring in a 6th lineman. We're going to run the stretch away from our H-back, and that gives us options across the field. So not only are we putting the ball in the end zone from the money zone or from the green zone, we're putting the ball in the end zone in multiple areas, potentially. So if we get a situation where over here we get a one-on-one, this safety is too far off, or if we get, if it's easy, there's 3-on-2 over there, our numbers say run this football, If the safety stays in the middle where we had him at the beginning, we can take advantage of this. Maybe we're faster than one of these guys. Maybe we can get to the block here before this guy can get to the ball. The backer can get to the ball. Any of those kinds of scenarios, we can throw this ball pre-snap, tell our back, go straight ahead, keep ourselves safe, and just put ourselves in the space that we have down here by the end zone. Maybe they miss a tackle. Maybe we run through a tackle. Again, we can bet on our own guys over here to the right, but also over here to the left. So we're taking advantage over here to all the way to the numbers or the sideline of the field. But over here, we're running stretch, which is into the boundary in this particular, the way this is drawn up, but also, so we're attacking this boundary with our back by running the stretch. All of our blocking, all of our scheme come in this direction and giving ourselves a chance all the way over to these numbers. But here's the thing, not only are we attacking sideline to sideline, we're also attacking the middle of the field if they don't account for our quarterback. So he's going to read what we call, we tell our guys, we read the C-gap space. We don't read a defender, although eventually there's going to be a defender there or not. But we read that space. If it's open space, we can take it. If it's filled space, we want to give the football and run the play that we have called. So if we pull this football, then our quarterback is one-on-one with a safety, and he's had to have either backed up to stay deep because he's a one-high safety, or he's had to attack where he thinks the play might be going. In either of these instances. So we've now effectively attacked every portion of the field horizontally, whether we choose to throw this ball pre-snap or not, whether we choose to give the ball the stretch, or whether the read says pull the football with the quarterback. From numbers to numbers and everything in between, we've essentially attacked that zone. So as we watch this, let's get us a good view. So here's our wide view. And what you see on the defense is a cover zero look. So if this is the case, a couple of things we could do. We could pop up and throw a fade ball to either one of these guys. We can throw a slant into this window, but we don't feel that that's really a good idea considering they have two cats in between. But where we have an advantage and where we see an advantage a lot of times is where does the corner, he doesn't know where to line up. Not only that, if we make corners make tackles, we feel like we're doing some good stuff offensively. And so this corner, because the corner doesn't super all the way over, he's a part of this interior where he's not comfortable. So now we've put them in a place where that guy is not comfortable. And we're going to run where we're comfortable. We like the stretch and we like it with our big boys. And so we're going to run the stretch back up to the top where the numbers say run the stretch, and there's not anybody there. This is with our third team running back. It's our second team quarterback. He does not take great steps. They still have to honor him, and so they're going to tackle him, which that's fine. But you notice, one thing I want you to notice is, this is too tight, but what you'll notice is this. All of our line is all moving that direction. But the kicker on this, and this is not even our fast quarterback, but if you'll watch these two cats, this defensive end and this outside backer in this zone right here, watch the pace with which they chase the football. That right there says he's got to worry about quarterback. I don't like the fact that we're handing this off with one hand. He should be handing that off with two hands as he lets go. But this, again, is not the better of the option quarterbacks. But here's the thing. This slowdown by this defensive end, because of the threat of this quarterback, makes this an even easier play to execute, or a more effective play to execute. He's chasing from behind, and he was slow in the beginning. And that guy is not very slow. He's a pretty good defensive end that we faced during this year. So I think that is all of our stretch stuff. So we run the stretch to set up some other things. A couple of ways that we run our zone. One is if we pack all of that, a couple of different theories in terms of getting the ball in the end zone, the green zone. You can pack it in and jam it down people's throat. You can pack it in and spread people out afterward, or you can spread people out, make them honor space on the outsides, and then hit them in the middle. And that's what we choose to do in a couple of different instances here. This would be an actual RPO for us You're not going to see that on film. You're going to see just a straight run and zone. But one of our favorite RPOs is to spread people all the way out, get them to chase this flat and play 2-on-1 with this outside backer having to make a decision. And whatever his decision is, especially with 4-man fronts, we really love this versus 4-man front teams. But if this outside backer has got to make a decision in terms of who he's covering. If he's a flat player, then he's got to go to the flat immediately, and that opens up the hole, which is a lot of time what happens. If he's a hole player and he drops to that hole, we can throw the flat fairly quickly. And no matter what happens, if they only assign 3 defenders to 3 receivers to this outside left, then this box, they've got to play the box different. They got to play the box in some other kind of way. But this right here has got 6-man box and an open 4 wide receiver set. Then we're going to have an easy read off of whoever's occupying this C-gap space. So to see that on film, and again, like I said, we're not going to see the RPO version. We're going to see, oh, this is not it. Hold on, one more. Oh, this is the other one first. Okay, so we have regular zones, like I said, which I just showed you on the X's and O's. And then we have some little tweak zone stuff. We don't get into pro sets very often, but again, we do it for goal line purposes. In this instance on film, what you're going to see us do is essentially we're going to go with a return motion, meaning we're going to get back into pro sets. We're going to get out of this twins. We're going to motion back over, mostly to see and confirm that we're in man up here for the call that would follow this. We didn't need the call. We ended up scoring on this one, but just so we could know what we were going to attack with when it came to third down. So on this 2nd and 5, what you're going to notice is, see this back's feet have moved in front of the quarterback. We don't line up in front of the quarterback most of the time. It's not a lot. It's not easy to tell, but in this instance, he does it because he's going to actually come across here and do what we call slice. So we're going to run the zone hard to the right, and then we're going to slice this off and seal off whatever defender's off this tackle's butt, and we're going to hit that crease with the back. Now, we don't read this normally, but with this quarterback, he actually could read this outside backer, and if the outside backer fell in, no matter what was happening here, we feel like if we got a stalemate on the defensive end from this slice blocker, that the quarterback could pull the football and run it in if the outside backer chased too far inside. So, or in this case, he's a safety, but he's rolling over, and this is the same guy, same position. So what we'll do is we'll run the zone here, though. We do a terrible job of letting penetration go right between here. That should have never happened. And then our angle here by the H is awful. He goes to meet the guy instead of getting up in here into this crease and making this a walk-in, which is what he should have done. He goes and squats. He's almost puts himself in the hole and screws the whole play up. But again, the other thing that could have happened is our quarterback could have pulled this football based on the fact that that backer or that safety left when we went in motion, which is the reason we run motion on the goal line scenarios. We don't run motion very often, but when we do, we believe it's because what we're getting defensively, we can take advantage of. And then you see our back just kind of do a great job of sneaking over in the crease. Our H-back does a terrible job, but in all fairness to the guys who are A's, every one of our A's, these guys that play this position or that are in that H-back, we ask that guy to do a lot of different things. They're all defensive players too. So we don't have a guy that's just solely, at least not last year, we didn't have a guy that was solely an offensive player on that side of the football or in those positions for us. So again, this is our zone with a little slice or a little block back to get us a crease, and the back finds just enough of a crease, put himself in the end zone. And again, just another way that we're not necessarily tripling and showing something different. You can see this from the full view, gets the defense to totally shift, which also helps. Notice in the secondary and the back end, again, because we don't motion much, when we do, it's like E.F. Hutton speaking. They listen. So you see shift, and an awareness from both of these guys that this guy is coming in motion. So we've affected 4 players and we haven't even snapped the football yet. That's one great thing about motion that you can notice. And again, what you're seeing here from these defenders is we're a great stretch team, so they're playing wide to begin with, plus they're getting motion. Well, that affects them. They're out of the play. So we're really playing with 7 on their 5 that are left in the play just because of the motion. So all of these guys right here are affected by the motion, and we do a terrible job of blocking and still get the ball in the end zone, again, because the motion affects people. So that's one way that we can equalize things. Let's see this from the end zone cut, so you can see the back's cut here. It steps by the quarterback. Again, terrible that we got penetration right there. Didn't anticipate this being goal line, and they're blitzing, and that's terrible because we're on the goal line, and they blitz on the goal line, and they twist from where they blitz it, and we covered it 1,000 times, and you guys have seen all of that. But again, we get in the end zone. So there's our zones. Oh, this is the regular zone. So we'll see this from the wide. Here we go. We're going to spread the field. We're 4 wides. We're going to get 0 coverage in this because that's what this team does when you get into the green zone areas. And we're just going to run straight zone. There's nothing fancy to this. We didn't add anything to it. There's no tags. Well, that's not true. We did tag our uncovered RPO. So you're going to see our version of the bubble, which we call the crawfish. That's going to carry these guys because it's 0. So these 3 guys are out of the play. And we really clarify now what the C-gap space is for our quarterback to read this and put the ball in the end zone. That defensive end, because he's responsible for other things, they don't gap exchange because they're a 4-down team. They actually go 5 down in this goal line look. You can see it great from the end zone look. So they drop another defensive player. They slide their whole line left. They walk their outside backer who's not normally used to playing that C-gap space, which is great for us, especially goal line oriented. We're going to get this linebacker washed in the rest of it. He's going to fill the gap. And now we've committed their 2 guys to this B gap, and it's 2-on-1 versus this C gap space player who's not used to playing that space. Back makes a simple cut, walk in the end zone. Okay, so some changes off of those things. So we run, again, stretch, we run the zone with a slice, and those are from different formations. So you can anticipate a number of things. You can't just sit on us being in 2 formations and eliminating that. You've got to be ready for all the possibilities formationally. And a lot of times there are times where we shift personnel to get to a goal line formation. But very often what you're seeing here with just that one H-back set, that guy line up as slot, line up at a back, line up at an H, line up at the tight end, he's the same guy. And that allows us to get in those formations without shifting personnel. That helps a bunch too. So our next set or our next play from that, if you run the stretch very well, then you want to run the naked very well, especially if your quarterback's halfway decent. So in this instance, we're going to get in our 2-back set, which is a normal set for us anywhere on the field. We're going to fake the stretch, and we're going to run a flood concept-ish. We're going to run a comeback with flood concepts coming back to us. And we'll see this on film, and I think I've got this in 2 different places. Okay, so we'll see this on film. So from the wide view, you can see our X, our Z. We're going to go, I think we're actually going to go, we are. So we're going to go tackle over left with our A, again, in another position. He's at a tight end, but we didn't switch him personnel-wise. And then this is our Y. But this is going to be, so with this, if you look at it in the end zone view, we're snapping the ball. We got a 3-blocker side. So technically, if you're looking at this defensively, it's almost tight end trips to the left and a nub side with 1 receiver to the right. But this is a tight end here. So technically we've got 2 receivers right. You've also got the back to the right. So we're going to fake the stretch, boot it back out. And because of that blitzer that you're going to see right here, it's going to be a very easy decision. It'll be 2-on-1. And again, our A does a terrible job of just running a flat route or getting himself open. But the quarterback is so dangerous. So we motion. There's your flip. And again, we're moving people by motion. So let's go back to the wide view. So we've taken that A. He's now on the ball. That brings our Y off the ball. We can now motion again in the goal line situation. Love the motion in the goal line situation. Watch the effect it has on the defense, even though they're in cover 0. There's the motion. Safety now gone out of the play. Blitzer's still coming. We know we're going to pull the ball off a blitzer, which should be easy if he doesn't blitz well. He should be blitzing the mesh point, but he can't really tell that, so he's off the crease. Because he's off the crease, we're going to pull this football off of him easy, and we don't even get a good fake. I think it's because we don't handle the snap very well. But essentially, it is 1, 2 on 1 defender. That guy left in the back end who doesn't know to cover. Again, our A should have been back here in the back corner of the end zone. He stops the route, which kind of helps the defender, but our quarterback's pretty quick. So naked is kind of getting your sprint out without with the misdirection. But it's a great way on the goal line, especially when people get in 0. Naked is a great way if your quarterback's halfway decent or halfway nimble to get yourself a pretty easy layup in the end zone, especially if you're successful running your stretch because they're going to anticipate it. So here it is again from the end zone. And I could lob it over if he kept running his route, but he stopped. He runs to the end zone, scores anyway. I guess that five yards that he didn't have to run helps him on defense. Anyway, another way that we run this is out of our 2-back set. So we get our 2-back set. We can run power. We can run dart. We can run all of our run plays, including stretch, where both of these guys that are in the backfield can become a blocker for the other guy. But another thing that you'll notice, if we do this again, we cheat this guy up so he can get out, and we're going to fake the stretch toward the 2-back set because we were faking it to run strong. There's our stretch. Tackle does a terrible job. Actually, we should have gotten a penalty, but our tackle right here should be running stretch. He doesn't. But we fake the stretch. Number of people. This is an advantage of running this out of, and this is the A again. Now he's in a different position. He's not at that tight end position where we talked about last time. He is on the backside as a back, but he is going to run the same release route. He's still running his flat from this position, though. We're still faking the stretch with everybody else. And back here, we're going to get a backside comeback route or frontside comeback route on this naked. So we've actually got 3 ways to get this ball out in space. The best thing about it is the blitzers or the guys that are looking for what's coming outside are all held. So all of these guys are held by the fake, and there's your releaser who found a way out. And we try to teach them to get the outside shoulder of the widest releaser so that it's clean for the quarterback and for him in terms of catching it. There it is in a walk-in. There's not anybody there, and your comeback route becomes a great blocker. Here's his from the end zone. There's his comeback route, which he could have thrown as well, but it's a lob. We teach our guys to take layups. I don't need to shoot threes. If I got a layup, that's easy. Take the points. Take the points. Okay? From the end zone, again, you can see a great fake. And one of the great things that our quarterback does here is we try to preach this a ton, is when we're faking or when we're running any of our option stuff. Everything about quarterback movement in terms of his success have to do with his feet and whether or not he can carry the fake from the back hip all the way to the front hip. If he does not carry the fake to the front hip, it doesn't look the same to the defender every time. And so we try to do that even when we know we're running naked here. He doesn't take the same number of steps. But watch his hands go to the front edge of it all. And this may not be one of the better times for this particular quarterback because he's really good at it. But his eyes are in the right place. He's reading what's going on in this front side space to know whether he's going to be able to let this ball go or not. Stays in there just long enough, delivers a strike, and it's touch. Okay? Another version or variation for us. I want to see. Okay, another variation for us. This would be your play action. So we come back to what is one of our goal line formations for us. I don't think I have this one drawn up. So we're just going to go to the film. On the film, we're going to be in a pro type of a set. Okay, so this is for us, if you look at this from the end zone, we are in a tight end set. Our H-back is right here. You can't see him because he's covered up by the back right here. What it should be is we should have both backs back here. But in this particular set, we lined up wrong. I don't even know what the heck we were thinking, but that's okay. There's still two backs in the backfield because our H is lined up in the backfield. The best thing about this particular look is that we have some tendencies. Sometimes we create some tendencies from a run standpoint to put the ball, try to run the ball in this area with the tight end and where the H is. And so because of that, you're going to get a lot of run-heavy looks or run-heavy blitzes from this side of the defense, which is a great time for play action. This is a 3rd and 8 situation, so I'm pretty sure 1st and 2nd down, we tried to run the football. I'm not a huge proponent of play action on 3rd and 8, but in this instance, we were facing a blitz-heavy defense, and as you can see, they are set up to blitz again. So let's look at this from the wide zone so we can see it. Here comes the blitz. Pretty much cover 0. They fake it off of one side, bring it from the other, which is great. Here's another tendency that you're seeing from this defense. What you've seen and we showed you earlier was that we're pretty good at running the stretch away from that H, which we would do in this instance, even in this set as well. So they take and they decide to sugar or show their blitz hard to both sides, but they only bring it to this front heavy side, and they bail these cats out to prepare against a naked or to prepare against us blocking here and running the stretch this direction. So they're trying to protect against those things. But in doing so, this is something that we had not shown until this game as well, which I'm a proponent of too. Always bring something to the game that you may not have shown in the past six games of tendency. And we're going to go play action here. And there's not going to be anybody home to take the tight end. Again, you can see it from the tighter view. There's the blitz from the front side. They're protecting against the backside stuff. Little play action. Toss to the defensive end who never gets a chance to score touchdowns. This is another one of those instance where we use this guy and kind of rewarded him for his week's worth of effort. Put him in for this play, and he gets to catch a touchdown. Gets to be the hero for the day. Here it is from the end zone view. Not a great job of blocking by the back, but the play action fake kind of helped. And again, the best thing about it is that the guy who's actually getting there at all is a safety who walked up. So, okay, so there's a play action. Now, last couple of things here. Again, we're a stretch team, but we like to throw some tendencies at times. So one of the things that we like to do is run the dart. Not necessarily against blitz-heavy teams, but definitely versus odd front teams. And we run it to and away from our H-back or our A. So in this instance, we're going to go with our tackle over or our guard over set. So here's our left tackle. This is our left guard. This is actually our right guard. Here's our center. Here's our right tackle. One of the things we do with this set is we will actually tag, again, one of our uncovered scenarios with these receivers out here to the left. With these guys out to the left. Not in this case, but we do it. It'd be uncovered. If any of those guys are uncovered, then we can throw the ball. If we get 3 guys out like we do right here, then we can run our play and everything's set. We read our dart. It's not just a handoff. Our quarterback reads that outside backer, especially when we're running it away from the A because we've got a blocker. So really, we're reading – this is one of the instances where we're reading space. We're really, truly reading space because I've got a blocker for the guy who is lined up there now. But if this safety decided to come over here or if this safety decided to vacate, that should indicate to our quarterback whether he can pull this football or not. A lot of people will make the argument that because this defensive tackle is technically getting blocked into the area where we might pull, don't do it. Well, I would tell you this. if you're teaching your quarterbacks right with regard to dart, his replacement is going to be deeper, but it's also going to be wider, and he should be able to do those things. And if he can't, don't give him that option. Block off the edge, only run it to the A. Just do the things that you feel like your kids can do. Our second team quarterback, I wouldn't have told him to pull this ball ever. This is one of those things where this guy had earned the right to have the green light versus certain space. Certain defenses would allow for certain space, and we let him have that because of that. So tailor what it is you're calling and how you're calling it to the guys you got. Again, Houdini back here, he can do a lot of different things. So here's one way that we ran the dart. Here is another way that we ran the dart. That was with the, I'm sorry, no, that's going to be power. So let's look at it on film. Here's an odd front team in 0. Their safety is up in the middle of this pack. Let's see if we can see it. There it is. So their safety has actually snuck himself into here. He's trying to be an extra guy, trying to find an open crease. In this particular game, this is the first series of the game, so it's not like it's do or die. But this particular team had struggled coming into this week with a couple of tough teams. Now they won the games, but they were struggling a little bit. So anyway, you're going to get cover 0. You're going to get an extra guy in the box, which is what I love about this play, because the way we teach it, we just teach our guys who aren't the front side of it all to zone away. And that washes all that blitz stuff out, theoretically. And you'll watch the back. We actually run it to the A on this one, and the quarterback pulls the ball out the back door. Touchdown. Again, like I said, some guys don't like doing it this way. On the goal line, I really like it because I just want to bet on my guy. But we're going to read this C-gap space. Whatever shows up in here or doesn't show up in here helps us determine whether we can pull this football or give it. And in this instance, that guy sneaks in too far. Now, the best thing about the dart is you're really inviting that guy, if you have a quarterback runner, is you're inviting that defender to really chase because your tackle's pulling. There's no question about it. They have to teach that particular defender how he's going to play pull from your tackle versus just a down block or a reach block or whatever. He's now pulling away. Are you going to get in his hip pocket? Are you going to turn back? Are you going to slide and feather? Are you going to slow play it and watch for something to come back at you? And so, and in an odd front set, when you're facing a 3-4, that's an outside backer most of the time who doesn't get to play those techniques very often during practice. He's not working a lot of that. And so in this case, he's doing what most people might tell him to do. Maybe they want him to get a little bit more penetration up the field. I'm not sure, but he's kind of in the pocket of the tackle pulling. And because he chases it and goes to get the back, you notice how long our quarterback holds this. Again, might be a better view from the tight view here. Watch how close or how long, we hold this ball from the back hip to our front hip before we pull it. Way deep in there, and now we can pull the football because there's nobody in this space. Then again, how he scores this too is we teach them to run to the hash. That fills up, run to the numbers. That fills up, run to the sideline. He knew he had speed to get to the pylon, get in the end zone, take the points. That's what he does here. And fortunately, we didn't do a great job on the front side of all of this in terms of blocking. Fortunately, he pulls this football because I'm not sure we'd get in on the front side based on what we didn't do. Of course, they had an extra dude. But again, that's why you run option football, because somebody has a chance to mess it up for them. Here is another look, I believe. Yes, so again, so here in the end zone view, we go, this is our tackle over again. So this is the one we just saw on the playbook. We've got left tackle, we've got left guard, we got right guard, we have center, and we have right tackle. So our jobs are the same. We're going to be zoning away with this 3 here. We're going to be jump set and get this guy out of here if we can. If he washes, he washes. This is our puller. We're going to follow those butts and fill wherever there's left over trying to kick. This A is going to arc release to the first defender outside the box. And again, quarterback's going to read this from hip to hip and either give that football or follow his lead blocker into the end zone. So let's see what happens. Read it all the way in. Back's able to see and visualize a cut. Nobody takes him down. He actually cuts this backside, which is that means you're doing a great job on the interior in terms of getting it blocked. Not sure we did a great job with the left guard in his position. We do go that direction, but he's holding on, and it's not great. Center does a decent job. Right guard might as well not even be in the play. He's just kind of standing there. But it does create a wall for the tackle who clears out the linebacker. Want to see it from the wider view. Okay, there's the odd front. The numbers are obviously to the side of the H and the multiple receivers. So they've got a lot of defenders over there, but we're going to hit this on the inside. We should be hitting it away from those numbers. But as you'll see, the back just makes a cut, and because our linemen stay on the wall, the guy who does a great job here is the A, who I was not talking very kindly to or about earlier. The A does a great job of walling stuff. So they switch. So the defensive end comes in here. Linebacker goes over the top. He becomes the first defender outside the box, which means our A does a great job of washing him up. He's peeking inside. If you'll notice his eyes, that defender is looking inside at the play instead of shielding this blocker, and so he's going to get smoked. And that's what creates space for a back to get in the end zone. A great job with the vision of the back being a back. Last play for us in terms of green zone, and then I'll put my screen back up there in case you guys got any questions or want to ask any questions. This is just power. For us, slot is a formation we use anywhere on the field, but obviously has its advantages on the inside. This is one of those things where we get in a two-back type of a set, and defenses have to determine whether this is a 2x2 set or a 2x1 set, depending on what we do and what our tendencies are. But in this case, we're going to zone away with all of our right side players, which you'll see on film. We'll show just a second. We're going to slam quick this backside tackle. We're going to front side the back. So he's going to actually just lateral step into the quarterback and then head straight downhill, which we believe lots of times gives a tendency break for us because we run so much backside stretch. And so we can turn to that. And then our quarterback has options in this depending on who he is. Again, he can back up and fake a play action pass like a jump pass. He can boot out like we do here. He can actually read this at times. If the guy has earned the green light, our guy, we would let him read this C-gap space right here. So this outside backer, even though we're J blocking this defensive end, if this outside backer were to crease or crash on a blitz here, then we would allow our quarterback at times to read this the same as he normally does and come out the front door. So let's look at this on film. Here's I think this is a tight view. Here's a tight view. There's our A. Okay, we're going to zone away with all of our line right here. They're all going to run zone away from the play. We're going to pull. We drop, pull, and then ride the butts, looking for the first thing that shows. This A is going to come out here and J block to kick that first C-gap defender that's there. If the defensive end, in this instance, as you're looking at this, we'll see it in the end zone a little easier, but this defensive end is in a 5 technique, and he squeezes off the outside of the tackle. We ask the A just to wash him, and the puller will make the adjustment. We wall up, get 2 blocks out of it, puller gets around, and it's a walk-in. There's nobody left. They're in cover 1 because it's goal line. Quarterback doesn't really carry out fake as much as I'd like, but that's part of the fact that he carries that ball so far toward the line of scrimmage. It makes things really hard for defenders to figure out whether or not he's got the ball or doesn't. We don't get a great pull from our guard, but he does get connected. Because he's connected, we're able to get in. Our right tackle gets a little push, and we put the ball in the end zone. If you look at it from the end zone view, it's very clean. Again, you're going to get what you should get is a wash here. A wash here. These 2 guys should handle those 2 guys. We should get a block back for the puller. We should get a slam and a quick to make sure this backside is sealed off. We should get a pull tight here to this backer. And then our A should get this guy sealed off, especially the way he plays it. We should step in and be right in this crease. We tell the back to get his hand on the hip of the puller and stay inside out as much as possible. That makes things all the cleaner. So if we watch this. There's the wash. Not a great job again by that tackle, but we do have a puller coming for that backer. Back does a great job of vision. Don't like his tuck. I'd like it to be higher. But nonetheless, he's in the end zone. Can't bitch at him too much. All right, gentlemen. I really appreciate the opportunity from Coach Bandstra to speak to you guys. Let me give you the my contact information if you've got any questions or want to just come see us, want to exchange some film or talk some ball. I'm always available. Again, my name is Danny Ramsey, and I really appreciate this opportunity. I hope you enjoyed this video on Green Zone Offense.